Hi everyone, thank you for joining this live. We just got breaking news that Tulku Hungkar Dorje Rinpoche's body is actually set for cremation in Vietnam. So we're going to be joined by a few friends to sort of talk about what all of this means. You who are not familiar, Tulku Hungkar Dorje Rinpoche is a respected Lama, and he happens to be the abbot of Lungo Monastery in Golok, Tibet. And, he was really known for being someone who was a pioneer in fighting for Tibetan language rights. He had founded schools, and, he was also an activist in his own right in Golok, inside Tibet, even under all the repression. And there were reports that he went missing, and we believe that he escaped to Vietnam. And he was arrested in Ho Chi Minh City on March 25th. And many believe that it was actually the Chinese and Vietnamese authorities that have detained him and effectively killed him. And the report just came in that they're going to cremate his body tomorrow in less than 20 hours. So that gives us a really small window of time to continue our advocacy for him, because once the cremation happens, all sources, all evidence of what happened to him, what happened to his body while he was in Vietnam, will be lost forever. And so that's what we're here to talk about today. And we have something that all of you guys can do to actually make an impact in the next 20 hours, so we can put as much pressure on the Vietnamese and Chinese government as possible. So thank you for joining us, Topjor, from SFT. Do you want to add, maybe share your thoughts and feelings about this growing situation and escalation?
Yeah, I think so. We've been looking at this case for a few days now, as news first broke, and yeah, every few days we've been able to get just a trickle of information by way of updates in terms of where this is going now. So what began with um, his monastery in Tibet announcing that that Dugu had passed away. Uh, and now, from the very beginning, what we feared most, what so many Tibetans and Tibet activists and Tibet supporters across the world feared most, is this is a story that we've heard before so many times, where you have a Tibetan leader of great influence from inside Tibet who mysteriously dies in custody. Um, and I think the most like insidious, like deepest, darkest fear that we've had from the very beginning, that um, has not been able to be substantiated, is that Rinpoche was taken, was kidnapped, and was tortured, and beat to death and killed. That's the fear that so many Tibetans and Tibet activists across the world have had since the story first broke. Um, and now, with this newest development, this newest update, that um, his body is indeed set to be cremated without the consent of his family, without the consent of his monastery or his followers, um, it goes a long way to confirm some of these deepest, darkest fears that the Chinese government is working as fast as possible to destroy all evidence of the circumstances surrounding Tuku's death. There was a report that the Vietnamese police were saying that he died from a heart attack. It was a sudden health issue that killed Rinpoche, even though he was only 56 years old, and uh, by all reports, there's been that nothing had come out that said he had any prior health complications, um, and yet the world is to believe that a day, 2 days after being taken into Chinese government and Vietnamese custody, suddenly he succumbs to um, you know, a sudden health ailment to the point where he dies. It's extremely suspicious, and the Chinese government's decision to uh, cremate his body and destroy this evidence, I think, forever abandons any chance of Tibetans and Tibet supporters believing anything different about the circumstances surrounding Rinpoche's death.
Yeah, thanks, Topcher. And I think one of the things that really inspired us about Rinpoche was when we heard the story of how Xi Jinping and the Chinese government wanted Rinpoche to host the fake Panchen Rinpoche, Gemsa Nubu, when he came to Golok, but Rinpoche actually refused to do so. So that was one of the reasons why he's being targeted by the Chinese government so much inside Tibet, and also following him all the way to Vietnam and really expanding their arm into Vietnam, the Vietnamese territory as well. So I just posted a link on our live right now. It's bit.ly/justice for Rinpoche. It's a short link that will take us to a a website where you can directly, all you have to do is put your name and your email address, and it will automatically email our demands to the top 4 leaders in the Vietnamese government. So with literally just your name and your email address, you can email the Vietnamese Prime Minister, the Foreign Minister, the Home Minister, and the Justice Minister the demands. And our demands are very simple. Our demands are to stop the cremation from happening, to return the body to his family who have been asking the rights to his body and the rights to do a proper Buddhist Tibetan ceremonial rituals and rites. And all of that is being denied right now, right? So if there's one thing you can do for Rinpoche's case that everyone can do right now is to sign the email to Vietnamese leaders, and please get your friends to sign and your family to sign as well. Next, we're also going to be getting our friends from London involved as well. And for those of you who are just joining in right now as well, the most recent update we just got is that Rinpoche's body is being set to be cremated in a Buddhist institution in Vietnam tomorrow in less than 20 hours. So this is of the utmost importance, and you can click that one link and send the email. Rocco, did you want to share your thoughts?
Yeah, thank you for having Free Tibet on board in this important call. As Topjo mentioned, it's reported and it's feared that Tulku Hungkar Dorje will be cremated before a fair and independent investigation is conducted. So this is something that is quite unprecedented in the fact that we're struggling to get information out of a foreign nation that's outside of China. Before we've been able to have easy access to the information, but we're struggling in the same ways that we're struggling to get information outside of Tibet. So it's making us wonder, where are Tibetans safe in this world? They've shown that they can beat us with impunity. Now they're showing that they can murder us with impunity, and it doesn't matter where we are. Even Tibetans inside Tibet aren't safe, but now we're being shown that Tibetans outside of Tibet aren't safe as well. So it's just expanding this kind of system of fear that the Chinese government have created for Tibetans, and now even in the diaspora as well, we're concerned, we're raising questions. What are our governments doing? What can we do to kind of keep us safe? What can we do to prevent acts like this happening again? And just thinking about this particular case of Tulku Hungkar Dorje, the fact that there was so much secrecy around this, the fact that the Chinese government are doing everything they can to limit the exposure of the monks from his monastery to his body, it's just very showing that not only is there still this distrust for the CCP members to even those living inside Tibet, those that have shown that they're not resistant in any way, they're not political in any way. All they have done inside Tibet is try to preserve Tibetan culture, identity, language, and they're being punished for it. And it's the ultimate punishment. It's murder almost. And although it's not clear like the cause of death, as Tokjo mentioned, it's highly suspicious the nature in which he died. He was detained on the 25th of April, and days later he died. Like it doesn't take a genius. If we just put our heads together, we understand already what the situation was. It's just a matter now of uh, placing pressure on the Vietnamese government, placing pressure on the international governments to actually do something, to actually find out what happened to him, because his story is important. It's the same as any of our stories, and his life is just as meaningful as any of ours. So I hope that people take real care and consideration into how we need to kind of go forwards. I hope people see the urgency and the demand and raising awareness in this case.
Yeah, and as Topjo and Rabga raised, we really are in a race against time. The cremation has been set for tomorrow. Pressure is mounting, but we need to show the international community, and more importantly, we need to show the Vietnamese government and the Chinese government that our resistance is strong. That's why we need every single person here really to sign this letter to the Vietnamese government. And it's quite simple. I think Rabga is going to give the tutorial right now to show you how easy it is.
Yeah. So if you look here at this website, all you need to do is just literally add your name. So let me just give a fake name, and then last name, fake name, email, something fake at yahoo.com. Okay. And then it will take you to the next page where you just need to add an address. So postcode, let's just say NW8. Again, fake address, fake address. Hopefully it goes through. And yeah, you should be able to send a letter, an email to the Vietnamese government, members of the Vietnamese government. And you can see already that on our end, at least, we have 1,155 people who have taken part. But throughout the other organizations, we've collected thousands more emails. So we need to keep pressing, we need to keep sending emails. And once you've sent that, you'll get onto our thank you page. And you can then share this action on email, on your Facebook, on Twitter or X. And you can just kind of amplify this action, which again is just so important.
Yep. Thank you guys for the update. Maybe now would be a good time to just pause and talk a little bit about how intense this transnational repression is, because the last update we got, it was that his body was moved in secret from the hospital to the Buddhist center at midnight. So it happened like at a time where no one could see this happening, as well as this happens to be one of the world's most religious like long weekends during Easter weekends. So the timing is perfect for the Vietnamese government and the Chinese government to be coordinating this so-called cover up. So maybe we could just pause and talk a little bit about that if Topjo has any points on that.
Yeah. Um, Transnational repression has become this buzzword that, like many Tibetans and Tibet supporters, have understood for a very long time. We've just now been given a new terminology with which to refer to it. This idea that the Chinese government, we know very well the intense lockdown, the intense control and violence that the Chinese government exerts over the Tibetan people that it occupies. And now this idea of transnational repression, we always say that Tibetans in the diaspora across the world and Tibet activists across the world have always been aware of this dynamic. It's the same reason why if you go to a March 10th protest, on any given year, you will see like little kids there with like full face coverings, even before COVID-19 was a thing, and that's because parents around the world know that they want their children to be at these protests, but they know that there's always going to be spies and people who are looking to identify Tibetans and Tibet activists who are speaking out against the Chinese government across the world. And the parents have to grapple with the reality of, if my child is photographed at a Tibet protest in Canada, does that forever prevent them from ever visiting our family back in Tibet? And that's a dynamic that, like I said, Tibetans and Tibet activists have always grappled with. What we're seeing now is an escalation and intensification of what the Chinese government can do, the boundaries that they can push their efforts to silence and repress Tibetans and Tibet activists across the world, so beyond the borders that China claims. We've seen, SFT and the Hong Kong Democracy Council. We wrote a very long, in-depth research report about transnational repression that took place in San Francisco, in America, in 2023, when different organizations affiliated, if not directly controlled by the Chinese government, worked in concert to harass, intimidate, and attack Tibet activists and other activists who were speaking out against Xi Jinping's visit to California. What we're seeing here, like Robert said earlier, is another level beyond that. We've seen harassment, intimidation, hacking. We've seen violence where young Tibetan teenagers attending a protest are being attacked by a mob of Chinese men with metal poles. But what we're seeing now is a revered Tibetan religious leader who, according to reports, sought exile in Vietnam because of the strong Buddhist Sangha there. There is a strong community of Vietnamese Buddhists who, benefited and learned from the teachings of this Rinpoche. He sought exile there because of this intense harassment he was facing from the Chinese government inside Tibet. And yet, even in Vietnam, reports say that the Vietnamese police worked in concert with the Chinese government officials, some of which had come from Tibet to Vietnam explicitly for this purpose. And now Rinpoche ends up dead, and his body is set to be cremated tomorrow without any independent investigation. So when we talk about this idea of transnational repression, what we're seeing now is the Chinese government posing the question to the world: how far can they go? What boundaries can they push? In terms of what are they allowed to get away with? Are they allowed to murder a Tibetan religious leader outside of China's borders and burn away any evidence of this crime? And will the world sit idly by? That's the question the Chinese government is asking right now. And what we do, what Tibet supporters and Tibetans across the world do in response to that, to respond to that question, now that's really going to determine for the Chinese government, because even if we're unalive here, there are protests happening across the world, letter drops, and even if they may not feel like we had the spotlight of the international media on us, I can guarantee at least one party is watching with intent, and that is the Chinese government, because they're seeing exactly what the world's response is going to be. And if our response is not loud enough, if we are not, if the world stands idly by while this happens, the Chinese government that is intently watching this reaction is going to be further emboldened. They said, we can kill a Tibetan leader in any country in the world, destroy all the evidence, and get away with it. And that's the lesson that they're going to take. And then that opens the gate to who knows what's going to come next. Who knows what a Chinese government that is emboldened to enact violence with impunity outside of its own borders, who knows what they're going to do. Yeah.
Yep. Thanks, Sopshore. I'll come back to you in 1 second, Rupka.
Mm-hmm.
For those who are joining now, you guys can go to any one of our organization's bios and sign the petition. It's also pinned here on this live. So it's a really simple bit.ly/justice for Rinpoche, and that'll take you straight to the link where you can email for the most highest diplomats in the Vietnam government to really pressure them, let them know that the Tibetan community, that the international community is watching their every move, so that they have to, really come to a decision dilemma on how they're going to be acting. And for those who are maybe unfamiliar with Tulku Hungkar Dorje Rinpoche's case, I just thought to give a really quick overview for those who are joining in now. You know, he was someone who dedicated his entire life to preserving Tibetan language, culture, and he was an activist in his own right in Tibet, in a place where being a Tibetan, being an activist is the biggest crime to exist inside Tibet and inside China. And what's happening right now, the secret cremation that is going to happen, the pressure on the monks to not have any cell phones. They actually got their cell phones confiscated last night. The surveillance of Tibetan monks, like including one family member of Rinpoche. There's a family member of Rinpoche in Vietnam right now, along with four administrative people from Lunga Monastery. So Rinpoche's monastery came to Vietnam to request his body, yet the Vietnamese and Chinese government refused to let his body go back to the family and to the monastery. That in it of itself is a huge international rights violation, right? And so because of all of this, because of the surveillance, it's not an isolated case, right? This is a part of China's broader strategy to erase Tibetan resistance and rewrite the truth. But we cannot let them get away with erasing Rinpoche. We can't let them get away outside of, especially outside of Tibet and outside of China, in Vietnam. This isn't just about Rinpoche. This is about, as Topcher mentioned, setting a precedent. We're letting the international community, we're letting the Vietnamese and Chinese government think that it's okay to get away with crime, with murder, murdering Tibetan leaders and thought leaders and intellectuals like Tulku Hungkar Dorje Rinpoche. And so it takes literally 10, 15 seconds. All you have to do is sign this email to action. And I know maybe some of you think petitions are not effective or you don't really know where that's going, but this actually this is not a petition. This is an email to target. We've picked the four most strategic people that we need to email from the Vietnamese government. And by just adding your name and your email address, it will send them all the details, all of our asks, including the asks of the family of Tulku Hungkar Dorje Rinpoche directly to the Vietnamese government. So if there's one thing you can do today, it's to share this link, share this live, and educate your friends and family because we now have less than 18 hours before they're set to cremate his body in Vietnam. Maybe I'll pass it over to Rapka in case he has any closing remarks.
For sure. There's not much to add in terms of the transnational repression aspect. I think Tokyo just covered it quite eloquently and uh, in a very vast scale. The only thing I can add is my own sort of experience with the efficiency of email to target actions and how closely the Vietnamese and the Chinese governments are paying attention to what we're doing. When I did the letter drop off, a letter signed by over 140 Tibet support groups, I did a few takes outside of the Vietnamese embassy with two of my friends, and embassy staff were coming in and out, and each time they were on their phones, they were closely monitoring what we were doing. Eventually, when I did go to the embassy door to hand deliver the letter, a member of staff opened the door, had a very polite discussion, very civil, and then a colleague of his, far in the back, came rushing and saying, "No, no, no, close the door, close the door." And it seemed very suspect in the way he was doing it, as though there was a higher directive for them to not engage with us, for them to not engage with what we were doing. Just the day before I delivered the letter, we did a protest outside the Vietnamese embassy. So already we know that their embassy is on high alert. And if the embassy is on high alert, the governments are on high alert. So whatever we do definitely has an impact. And the more people that do sign an email on, then the more reach, the more engagement we can have. And just in terms of what Tokyo was saying about the transnational repression and how much it's grown over the years, it's scary, and the consequences to us as Tibetans in the diaspora are definitely increasing as well. But what really gives me hope, what really makes me see a light at the end of this tunnel, is the fact that Tibetans are still out here protesting every time. That we, as members of Tibetan support groups, are still taking action, regardless of if we're understaffed, if we're under resourced. We're doing what we can, and we're doing what we can with our communities fully supporting us, and it's helping to create drive, it's helping to create change. And there's resilience in the fact that Tibetans, even knowing the risks that they might never get the chance to go back to Tibet, or that they might never get a chance to see Tibet, are still out here taking action, resisting the CCP. So I want to also thank all of our supporters, and I want to thank you guys as well, my colleagues across the seas.
Thanks, Rapka. And I guess, yes, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
and I think one more parallel that I really wanted to draw, for everyone listening here, and I'm sure it'll be explored deeper in the days to come. But one of the first things that my Bala told me when we were talking about the situation is, you can't help but to see the parallels to the death of His Holiness the 10th Panchen Lama, who, just like in this scenario, His Holiness the 10th Panchen Lama was, we believe, 51 when he had first written the 70,000 character petition, um, back in the 1960s, of how the Chinese government was oppressing the Tibetans inside Tibet, and then he was imprisoned by the Chinese government. And in 1989, after he was released, he gave a short speech criticizing how the Cultural Revolution was destroying all these Tibetan monasteries and burning all these Tibetan texts, and how it was, having this oppressive effect on the Tibetan people. And just a short time after that, at the age of 51, he suddenly died of a heart attack. And in this scenario, one of my Bala's friends sent to him a short clip, about a minute long, from one of Tulku Hungkar Dorje's last public teachings. And these are, he was a prolific teacher. He gave teachings where hundreds of thousands of people tuned in. And in this 1 minute clip uh, of this teaching, he says something to the effect of Tibetan language and Tibetan culture are the soul, are the lifeline of the Tibetan race. And this is one of his final teachings before he disappeared. So to think that in the case of His Holiness Panchen Lama, his death sentence was advocating for protection from the Cultural Revolution, advocating for the preservation of Tibetan culture. And in the case of Tulku Hungkar Dorje, his death sentence was advocating for the preservation of Tibetan language and for the preservation of Tibetan culture. And in both these cases, shortly after they advocated for the preservation of the Tibetan identity, they both end up dead of a heart attack. Um, I think though these parallels are very important for everyone to look at, examine, and see that this is a pattern that extends over many decades. It is a principal tool in the Chinese government's toolkit to target and kill Tibetan leaders who enjoy great influence over Tibetans inside Tibet. And this influence is something that the Chinese government will never have in Tibet and will always fear in Tibetans. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Topshore. And I think the last thing I wanted to share was, although that the situation seems very bleak with the update of the cremation set to happen tomorrow in Asia time, our voices are making a difference. Our email to action is actually hosted on our website, on our server. And for the last 24 hours, we've been getting attacked, which is this, a form of digital transnational repression. And this attack is actually targeting, it's a malicious attempt to disrupt our online presence and to disrupt all the work that we're doing on Rinpoche's case. So this goes to show exactly how effective we've been, all of the Tibet groups have been doing in campaigning. So the last push and the last urge and the last ask from all of us, once again, is to, really sign this. If there's one thing you do today, it's to send this email and to get 5 of your friends to do it. And that could be, the greatest thing we could do in terms of advocacy towards Rinpoche's case today. So thank you guys for tuning in. The last thing is, as in the next 24 hours happen in the few days to come, we will be posting updates. We will be releasing statements. So please keep up to date, because even if once the cremation is done, there's still more work to do. We need to make sure that Tulku Rinpoche's case is still being studied. We need to get justice for him and get answers for his family. So there will still be continued work. So follow along the space, and in the meantime, stay educated. Read up on read up on his case, sign the petition, and share with your friends. Yep, and I think that's it for today. So thank you guys for making the time to join us here, and thank you too for making the time to host this live with me. See
Thank
Thank
you
you
you.
so
guys
much.
soon.
Thank you. Take care.